Hello everybody. I am in full-on experimental mode today. I decided that I am going to play with a bunch of different pigment mediums and a whole ton of water and just see how everything moves, if it moves, how it moves, and what it moves on. So I have a piece of Yupo paper, 5x7 inch Yupo paper. I have a piece of watercolor paper, Artistico Fabriano. It is 300 pound cold press. So we have that one. And I have a 140 pound cold press watercolor paper that I tore from my, it's a Strathmore visual journal. That's what it is. So we have 300 and 140 pound watercolor paper and Yupo paper. And I am going to flood these. I have several layers of towels down on my glass surface here that's covering my painting table. So I'm going to get them real wet, guys. Real wet. Hence the towels. Both sides. Lots and lots of water. I want it just laying on the surface. I want the paper to pretty much suck up everything. So the 140 pound, and that's, the Yupo is like, it's not going to suck it up, it's just going to lay on there. So I'm going to concentrate on the 300 pound because it is absorbing way more of the water than the 140 pound is. And I'm kind of going to do the same thing to each of these just to see how they differ. And I'm going to get real messy, so I am going to glove up. How long these will stay on, I don't know. If you watch me very often, you know I absolutely hate to wear gloves, but I also don't care for Technicolor hands. So we'll give it a go if I can get it on now that my hands are wet. Okay, there we are. If you try this at home, I suggest old clothes. I do have an apron on. I'm going to start with some dilution sprays. Ooh, cool. They move quite nicely, don't they? Of course they do. So that was Vibrant Turquoise. And I have fresh lime. And you can see nothing is getting absorbed on that Yupo paper. It is swimming along. I'm going to do one more dilution spray, which is squeezed orange. Let's get a little bit out here. We are going to get some mixing, more so you'll notice intermixing on the Yupo. Let me get some little drips here, because nothing is being absorbed on the Yupo, which is the way it's supposed to be. So now if I have a pair of tweezers and I want this to move, I can just manipulate it a little bit and get that color to move into different areas. I don't want to lose too much of it to the, running off, but I might want to just move it a little bit. I can even swirl through it and get it to move. Now, the way my towels are laying is gonna, if they're not completely flat, that's gonna make a difference too. Let's see if we can get some of this to come up here. I'm gonna offload just a little bit of that one, and I'm gonna spray back into this one then to bring some of that color back. And here where it's not sticking is where it might be from me touching that paper. Okay. Because if you get oils from your hands on the Yupo, that paint's not going to stick. So I like the little spots we got on here. The ones on the 300 pound just kind of disappeared. So now I want to see if I drop some acrylic ink into this really wet mix, what will happen. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can see it acts quite a bit like alcohol ink might act on Yupo. Let's see what it does on the watercolor paper. Let's go into this really wet. That's interesting. It seems like it's moving, which is kind of cool, but not spreading as much where the paper is, where there's water pooled on the paper. It's kind of just sitting as opposed to spreading out. This is Daler Rowney magenta, processed magenta acrylic ink. So that's kind of interesting. I have the same thing in yellow. Let's try going in the middle of these with the yellow. What does it do? It's making some kind of interesting patterns. I'm going to put quite a bit in this real wet section and see what happens. I just love to come in here and just play with my art supplies and see if I can push them to do some things that maybe they weren't intended to do. Or look at how cool those are. I love that. Can you see that? I can't pick it up for you. Try to look in the camera. I can't really see that well. So we've got some interesting things going on here. I'm going to swirl this out a little bit. But you can see how differently these mediums work on the different surfaces. Even though these are both watercolor papers, they're going to absorb the medium a little bit differently. They're similar, and you can see things, just as long as there's water on here, they're just going to keep moving. Now, if I want to move it some more, I can spray it. We're still, see, I've got a puddle there. Let me get rid of some of that. See what we're left with. So push it down, let some off if you want to. If you see it starting to do interesting things, let it go. Like that was pretty cool. Let's see if we can just move it up here. And like I say, if my towels are a little bit higher there, that's going to cause it to move in a certain direction. But I can redirect it just by pushing on the paper and get it to go somewhere else. So that's cool, the way those are coming together. Get some of this moving a little bit. Let's just try to bring this all into the middle. It'll depend too on where the paper is drying. If it's drying on the edges, then the color's going to pull out into those dry areas. If the middle is drying first, then we'll get more moving to the middle. So I have some shimmer sprays. This one is Rose Gold by Tattered Angels. It's Glimmer Mist. Let's see what happens with this, if anything. Let me spray it into those really wet areas. See if we can get some of it to stay on there. That was probably too much, but I wanted to see it. And then I also have some Heidi Swapp Color Shine. This is teal. I did shake these before. Oh, look at that move. That's pretty cool. This one's just kind of a little smushed. I'm not liking it too much. See if we can create some little bit of interest here by getting this to move a little more. And then I think it needs some of this to go off. Just a little too wet, I think. I'm going to come back in. We lost those cool flower shapes on the Yupo. They just continued to move. I wish I knew how to freeze. How to freeze some of these patterns when they go down and you really like them. But with all the water, and that was the experiment, they do have a tendency to continue to move. And who knows, when they dry, they might look completely and totally different. I like it. I'm digging the movement. I'm liking it. See, now that's what's gonna, look at this one. That's moving in a really different way. I really like that too. I'm gonna try to cover some of those edges that the sprays didn't seem to want to cover. Notice a lot of the yellow on the 140, or on the 300 pound, has moved so much that, like right there, looks similar to this, but now it's just continued to spread and it looks totally different. I'm going to let some of this off of here. You see how that's coming down. I can see the shimmer spray on this one pretty well. Now I'm going to try a high flow acrylic. This is Cerulean Blue. I have no idea what it's going to do. It's kind of cool. I'm just going to put a drop on each of these and just watch it. I might give just that a spritz. No, I'm not going to spritz that one. I like what it's doing. What I'm going to do though is I have 91% alcohol. Oh, that was too much. That was a big drip. Okay, we kind of obliterated what we had going on our Yupo. And that's really wet. I'm going to hit it with water again. I mean, it was really dry. Get some movement back. Let me hit this one with water too. And I'm just going to hit the drier areas of this one with the water. So the water pretty much got rid of what we had from the alcohol. Now that's acrylic ink in the acrylic paint. And I'm just playing, you guys. I have no idea how it's going to change or what it wants to do. I'm just adding and adding until I think maybe I might like it. I also have some Turquoise phthalo high flow acrylic. I'm going to add some of that. I'm not really digging that blue too much. The Yupo is the most interesting always because nothing gets absorbed. It has nothing else to do but move. So let's help it move. That needs some more water down this edge. I like the way this yellow, it kind of separated right there on the Yupo. This I think is going to just I'm going to just soak some of that up with my brush. And you can see it moving right into the brush bristles. I think you can see. Oh, you can't see. Let me move these towels. Ugh. I don't want to disturb everything. Are you not seeing the edge of that, huh? There. I'm trying to move that one over a little bit. There we go. Now I think you're seeing them all. And I wonder on the Yupo, I probably can direct it with my brush a little bit too. Get a little more movement through certain areas. And this one's starting to dry a little more. And you can see the green that was created there with the blue and yellow ink. Not crazy about this great big expanse of blue right here. So I'm going to take some of it away. I do like what that's doing. It's really, really wet there. I want more of that separated yellow ink. I'm not sure why it's separated there. I want more, more, more. I don't know if I had a lot of it in that one area or what. I'll try just shaking some on instead of dripping it. Love those Starbursts. I wish they would just stay, but I don't think they're going to. I'll get all Jackson Pollock on it. I wish. Talk about experimental. He was a master. You can see this Yupo is buckled up in the middle. I'm going to try and push it down so that I can get some movement toward the middle. That's kind of an ugly brown that was created right there. Let's get rid of that. And right here. If I roll my brush, I get some kind of interesting effects when it kind of rushes in to take the place of what I offloaded right there. I'm liking these though. I think they'd be really pretty cards. I've got a lot of sedimentation here from, I guess it's from the Turquoise Phthalo. I like it. Now these are going to take a very long time to dry, obviously, but I think they'd make really pretty card fronts. Try to get rid of those bubbles. Now, I'm going to do a couple of different things. I have, and look, I didn't get that dirty. If I hadn't put the gloves on, I would have. I want some alcohol drips on there, but I'm just spraying little bits onto my gloves because when I went right from the bottle, it was just way too much. Then I lost my pattern. Yeah, those were big drips. The Yupo is going to react more with the alcohol. You see where the alcohol is falling on the watercolor paper. It's kind of getting, as it gets absorbed, the colors moving back into those spots where the Yupo paper is kind of holding the spots because it has pushed all of the color away, which in some cases that is good, but in this case not so much. I don't like it. So I don't know what will happen if I sprayed dilutions on top of this. Let's see. Oops. I'm standing way far back just to try to get some to fall onto the, yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's try the orange. We don't have, I have reds in there, but there's not much orange. I'm only pressing the top down a little bit. I'm getting it all over my storage box. Hold it way up, let it fall down on it so I don't get real heavy. It's all an experiment, so you know, if it turns out ugly, See, it's got kind of muddy because of the blue and orange mixing. I'm going to let that happen. Where my towels are overlapped under this Yupo paper, I'm going to try to move it down. I don't know, which one do you like the best? And they're all similar. We've kind of lost everything on the Yupo. So let's offload whatever will run off. And I'm going to go back in with the yellow right up there where it was got that dirty green, and then coming back in with the turquoise phthalo. See if we can't, probably too much. I forget how much stuff moves on Yupo. It really, really moves. Maybe, oh, you know what, let's put some red in here. See if it holds it, or I don't have any in the dropper. Getting air bubbles. And see how much the yellow spread out there where it was the wettest. This one could use some red right through that water. The ink is interesting. I wasn't sure what it would do, this acrylic ink. Just wasn't sure. I'm going to do this, a little bit of water. I'm only going to get purple. Just to move more. Okay, that's a little better. This needs some water. I'm going to take some saran wrap think I'm going to go on this one with the Saran. I don't want it over the whole thing. I'm just going to go right here in this center a little bit, kind of on an angle. It's crunched up quite a bit, and I'm just pushing it down into the wet ink and paint. And once that dries, which will probably take 2 days, we'll get some real interesting texture in there. And I have some Himalayan rock salt, not rock, Himalayan table salt, I should say. Let's put some pieces on here. I'm not sure what it'll do on the Yupo since the Yupo stays so wet, but we'll see. And where this is still glistening but not pooled, I can put the salt. I don't want to put salt where the pooled up water is because I really don't think we'll get any effects that way. But as it sits, the salt will pull the moisture from the paper and bring the pigment with it, and we should get some interesting little marks underneath there once everything is dry. Now, my biggest challenge at this point is how to move these because I have other work to do and they are on my table. I'm going to do a little piece of Saran on, where do I want to go? I'm going to put it on this one because I will go up this way and it can go right over the salt. Alright, then the other thing I wanted to do, and I'm not sure, I think I'm going to, hang on, I'm going to grab, I'm going to cut some pieces of this cheesecloth and just kind of shred out the edges, tear it in smaller pieces, and let's some up here. Now since this is acrylic, mostly acrylic, oh that was the alcohol, okay, I thought I reached for my water, oh well. But because this is mostly acrylic, it should be sticky enough to hold that cheesecloth down once it's dry, and it will become part of this, or I might be able to just lift it off and maybe it will leave some kind of cool markings behind. So let's put some on here too. Just pushing it into the paint. And you can see it is kind of wicking up some of the paint from around it. Let's see what it does on the Yupo. Now I won't be able to show you the results of all of this for a few days, but I will come back and show you once everything's dry, and we'll see what it all turned out to look like. I do have one more little piece. Let's put it on this one up here. like that could be kind of cool. And you can see this one's starting to dry. I wish I hadn't done that. Alright, I'm going to take some of that green off of there. I'm just going to roll my brush through and just offload. And we can put it somewhere else, can't we? Just do that. Kind of like this one. It's a little, maybe a little more yellow is what I'm wanting on here. It's interesting. The yellow stayed pretty yellow on the 400 or the 300 pound watercolor paper. On the 140, it like immediately mixed with that green. Let me see what it does here. See how much more vibrant it stayed on there? It immediately went to green on here. Now it's moving out there some, but I'll follow this cheesecloth with more yellow. Pop that bubble. There we go. I mean, I could just go on and on and on, obviously. Put a little bit on top of the cheesecloth just to see if it stays caught up in the fibers of the cheesecloth or how it ends up drying. That will be interesting. Got so many bubbles out of this dropper. I could direct some of this with the end of the dropper too. That's kind of cool. I'll wipe it off so I don't contaminate my whole bottle of ink, but alright. I think I need to leave well enough alone. I have a tendency to overdo it because I just want to keep playing. But I kind of like them the way they are right now. I have a leftover cap that I don't know what it goes on. Alright, we'll figure it out. Okay, thanks for watching this experiment with me. Like I said, once it's all dry, probably be 2 or 3 days, I'll come back and just maybe on the tail end of another video I will show them to you. So don't forget to push your boundaries, experiment, play, have fun. You've spent money on art supplies. Use them in new ways. I mean, nothing is so precious in terms of paper and paint that you shouldn't experiment and have fun, because you just might find an absolute new favorite technique, or something might just react in such an awesome way that it just will make you happy. So go play, and I'll see you in the next video. And in the meantime, go make some art. Bye!